internalized, what does it mean to be truly sure of what you hope for? I mean, really sure of what you hope for? And certain of what's ahead, what you don't see? I don't know if you noticed the title of our talk, we called it Faith, Something Beyond What I See. For all of us, there's something next. The transition, be it coming in 2 weeks or be it coming in 2 years, there's something next that's beyond what we can see now, and that's where I believe God calls us to be people of faith, that we can have faith in God's good plan for our future. So now we'll tell you a few stories about some of our experiences and how God has increased our faith.
There's been numerous situations that we've had experienced over the last 10 years that we could attribute to building faith in our lives, and we had to be very selective as we looked into what stories we wanted to share, what topics we wanted to look at, because we're limited by time. But I'll tell you very briefly about how we started at LCC and how coming to LCC and having to fundraise, which for those of you that don't know, most of the faculty and staff at LCC that are from the US and Canada and from abroad have to fundraise for their salaries, for either part or all of their salary. And when we arrived, we had to ask our family and our friends and churches to please send money to LCC so that we could be here, and they would be paying our salary. And so in December of 2001, we heard about LCC. In March of 2002, we had been accepted to come to LCC, and in July of 2002, we were here at LCC. And so we had a very, very short time frame in which to raise money, to alert our family and friends of the need that we had. And as 25 and 27-year-olds, it was not something that we were terribly familiar with, and to have to rely on your entire livelihood being based on the gifts of friends and family was a very daunting task for us. And so while we trusted that God would provide for us, we were not as trusting that our friends and family would listen to God, asking them to help provide for us. But over the course of 10 years, we have been able to sustain the money and the fundraising that we've needed to in order to be here. And so for 7 of those 10 years, we were completely fundraising on our own. The last 3 years, we've had some institutional support from LCC. But every single year, we had nervous moments. Every single year, we would get a statement from the institution saying, this is how much you've raised, this is how much you need to raise. And every single year, we had that moment in April and May of, oh, crap. There's a large amount of money that has not been raised yet. And in one particular year, which we call our miracle year, was 2008. It was the beginning of the crisis, and we started to watch people disappear from our lists. We would get an update every month, and we would notice that there were names missing that had been there before. And we got to May, and our year ends in the end of July, and we were $19,000 below what we needed to raise. And for us, $19,000 is an extraordinary amount of money. For most of you, it's a large amount of money as well. And we had no idea what to do. We had sent out emails in the past and said, we're a little short, please help us out. But we're 50% short, please help us out. Kind of an email with such a short time frame. And when we look at the miracles, we didn't tell anybody that we were having this need at the moment that we found out. And my mom called me while we were just arrived to the States for the summer. And she said, you wouldn't believe it, but your friend Brendan stood up in church today and said, I just feel like we need to pray for the State's finances. And we hadn't told anybody. We hadn't told our parents, we hadn't told our friends, we hadn't told anybody that we were in such a hole. I don't think LCC had told anybody that we were in a hole too. But we hadn't told anybody. We noticed on our next statement that we got one of the largest gifts we'd ever received before we had told people that we were in a very, very desperate situation financially. We also got a promise of a gift. We didn't know how much it would be, but we got a promise of a gift that turned out to be 2.5 times the size of the largest gift that we had received. And at the end of that year, at the end of July, we actually were like $4,000 beyond what our need had been for that year. And so